Good evening, fellow Stenomasters. When I heard this topic come up, I had volunteered to speak, and I originally thought I would talk about a crazy depot I covered, where I wanted to go to church or go home and take a shower. But I decided to go a different route tonight because life and faith takes us different routes. For close to 40 years, I've been a freelance court reporter, as a lot of you know, covering zoning, traffic, parole hearings, depositions, trials, court in the classroom, just to name a few. And the common theme here is that it's mostly judicial reporting. In 2014, I had a hard of hearing client named Donna that I provided CART for college courses reach out to me to ask for my assistance. She explained that her children had become very active in the Catholic Church and that she would like to participate in the Sunday Mass. But the Archdiocese is not required by the Americans with Disabilities Act to provide a CART provider. They provide paid sign language interpreters they have on staff and suggested she try to use her lip reading skills to follow along. She asked me if I would caption for her like I did the CART classes. Oh, and one other thing. Her church won't allow a court reporter there because that would be too distracting. So would my church perhaps allow it? I was first taken aback. I could hear through her email how she was so wanted to be included in one part of the Mass that you cannot get out of the book, the homily. The homily is given by the priest after the first and second readings from the Bible and the Gospel. It's where the priest usually will connect those readings in the Gospel to everyday life, what is going on in the world at the moment, perhaps even sharing a funny story about themselves. Anyone hard of hearing would be excluded, left out of that experience in that moment. I could hear my trepidation with the wheels in my head spinning as the words blurted out into my email response, having no faith at all. But I don't write Bible. I'm more of a judicial reporter. She persisted. You captioned my classes, my son's school counseling meetings, and she reminded me that I could do this. She asked, what would I charge? Reminding me that it is up to the church if they will contribute money for CART. I just knew in my heart of hearts that having no experience in writing Bible, I could not charge. I would only feel comfortable doing this as a volunteer. I also had trepidation of asking the priest at the church recently that I went back to. You see, just about this time, I had been feeling very unfulfilled and had a lack of faith, and I was trying out some other religious denominations. But I went ahead and I set up an appointment, and I explained to Father Guest the situation and asked, could I set up on Sundays? I was welcomed with open arms. I was allowed to pick out where I would sit, the setup date and the time, and I told my client and I explained how the app would work. She needed to download it to her iPad or her phone. I practiced just like any reporter would do to prepare for a real-time or a captioning job. I made a separate dictionary for all the common biblical terms, took out as many of what I thought would be bad language words, but I realized quickly I needed to put ass and cock back in my dictionary. It does refer to animals mentioned, you know, in the Bible. I tried to call other captioners I found online that covered church services, but no one returned my emails or calls. I was hoping for pointers, things to be aware of. I had to have faith at this point. The homily was the one thing I could never prepare for. Some priests didn't prepare ahead, and they were very off the cuff. Some spoke very fast. Other masses had guest priests or speakers come in from other countries. I couldn't write verbatim at times because one, I didn't know what they were saying the entire sentence. Two, I knew the word wouldn't come up in English, so I had to think fast. What word would fit? So it made sense to them. After a few masses, another parishioner saw me in church and came up to me to explain she was losing her hearing. Others said the darn sound system was unreliable. Well, tell me about it. Many times I was stressed because I couldn't hear with the sound system, and I was supposed to be the one that could hear for them. Some parishioners from other parishes came to visit. to experience the captions they couldn't get at their churches. We were then advertising in the weekly bulletin. They put a tab on the website for people to find out more information. And there was even a story in the local archdiocese paper. This went on for 6 years until COVID hit. Then there were people that just stopped going to church. They still aren't interested in attending in person. So I reached out to some parishioners from a different church that had shown an interest, and I asked them if they were still interested in my captioning. So they asked their church and they offered to pay me for my travel expenses, and I gladly took it. No matter how bad a day I might have writing, hearing, or understanding myself what I have to write, they are always so appreciative of whatever I can give them. I can tell you I've probably benefited more from this experience going on 10 years than those parishioners. I have learned a lot by going back to church on a regular basis. The sense of community it has, being attuned to those readings and the homilies, I feel like I can hear and understand his messages now. I have faith again. God works in mysterious ways, they say. Donna, the client, may have reached out to me to help her, but I do believe she helped Donna, the reporter, more by all that came from learning that I can write Bible. And I leave you with a little quote taken from one of Chris's practice groups last week. Lord, I confess that I am not what I ought to be, but I thank you, Lord, that I'm not what I used to be. Thank you.